Alright, I pulled the instrument panel out. The speedometer was doing some squawking. I disconnect the battery every time I do that so you don't short anything, but this is it. I just got to take this out, and then this assembly will come off, and these two screws, and I can get to the speedometer. That's the head. I suspect that this is what the problem is. It's just probably drive oil from sitting for 40 years. I've had oil that on the 59 Chevy too, so I'll get it apart and we'll get it lubed up, and hopefully that takes care of it. Okay, I got that separated. I'm going to take the lens out. There's a couple screws here, and then I can take the lens out and clean it and polish it up. Might as well clean everything up while it's apart. That's, I believe, the oil, cold and hot light. And we'll take the speedometer head out. There's just two screws in the back side here. We'll hold the head into this assembly, so we'll get that out and try and get it lubed up. Alright, the speedometer head is out, and the oil, it's hard to hold this in the camera, but the oil will need to go right kind of in between there where the shaft comes through for this shaft. It's not the cable, because I took the cable out and lubed it when it first started making noise, so I definitely know it's not the cable. It's definitely this probably in the speedometer, this little bit in here. So we'll get that lubed up, and hopefully that takes care of it. Okay, while the speedometer cluster is apart, now is the time to clean up the lenses. I get this and take the lenses off, and I'll give that a quick polish. I cleaned this all up. Try not to wipe or polish on wherever there's writing. So those I'll just be really careful. So this just was in there, and we'll get this all polished up and back together. The speedometer is pretty lubed up. I got a little cup of oil. I'll show you on the speedometer how they work. This is basically a drum. This is the speedometer part right here. That underneath that drum is a little magnet that spins, and the faster it spins, the more it turns that little drum to move the needle, and the needle is spring-loaded back. Don't do anything with any of this mechanism. Only lubricate the part where the cable goes in. That's completely separate from this mechanism. So I'll get that finished up, and we'll get this thing back together and go out for a drive and make sure it doesn't squawk anymore. If you were watching the one video where we're driving the cars around, you can hear it when we're going up the road. At one point you could hear it in the video camera squawking. My dad had the enclosed back on his GoPro. That's why it didn't sound wasn't good on the Pontiac camera. But we'll get this thing back together. Now the instrument panel is out. I gave it a total cleanup, polished all the chrome around it, which I've never done. I've just wiped it with a rag and water. Cleaned the lenses. So everything looks like brand new here. So let's put it back in the car, and hopefully it's noiseless. I can turn it with my fingers, and it's nice and smooth, and it was kind of stiff before, so I think that'll take care of it. So let's get it back together and give it a try. Alright, we got the instrument panel all back together. The lens is nice and clean. Speedometer head, everything cleaned up really nice. I just didn't see any point in that cleaning it while it was apart. So we'll take it out for a ride and see if it squawks anymore. It shouldn't. And maybe fill it with gas and see what the gas mileage is. So we'll get it warmed up here. And we'll go for a ride. Well, so far the speedometer is quiet. It's smoother too. The needle is much smoother. It doesn't wiggle around or anything. So I think we got that all taken care of. I filled it up with gas. We'll go home and figure out the fuel economy here. So I think it's got 100 and I don't know, 100. I'll have to look at what I wrote down. 162 miles maybe on the gas, and it took 11 gallons, so probably about 15-16 miles a gallon. That was all pretty much all city driving, but I'll figure it out. Okay, well, it took 11.4 gallons of gas to fill it back up, and I went 152 miles on that 11.4 gallons, so that comes out to 13.33 miles a gallon. So it is a bit of a gas pig, but that was all city driving. There was no highway driving, so it might get probably 16, 17 on the highway. Maybe if I'm really a featherfoot not running 70, it might get 18 tops, but city driving it gets 13.3. That was the first tank of gas I've burned through the car since I've had it. And I put premium gas in it because of the 10.5:1 compression ratio to the engine. So yeah, it's a little more pricey to fill this up than the pickup, but the Chevy has to have premium because it has 10.5:1 compression ratio also. The Chevy gets about 19 pretty consistently, city or highway, but that's a stick, and it's got the little square bore Rochester 4-barrel on it. So if you stay out of the secondaries on the Chevy, it's actually pretty good on gas. This has got a pretty good sized 2-barrel on it, and it's a pretty responsive car. I think it would give the Chevy a good run for its money, if not even leave it behind. But yeah, it's full, and we're going to take it out for a little ride. The speedometer seems to be quiet now, so needle's smoother, it doesn't wiggle around any at all, just nicely comes up as you go. So we'll go for a little ride and call it good. Okay, I took it out and put about 10 miles on it, run it up to about 60, and the speedometer is actually totally quiet now, runs a lot smoother. And as far as that 13.3 miles a gallon the car was getting, that was a lot of, you know, just putzing around, idling around. You saw, you know, with the video with my dad and stuff, driving in around town there and stuff. It'll probably get maybe 14 or 15 city driving, and I suspect about 17 or 18 highway driving. But for what I drive them, it doesn't really matter. I just enjoy them, and it's not a big expense to gas for just cruising around in the old cars. I mean, the pickup gets about 19, so if I drive this and say it's getting 15, you know, you're only talking 4 miles a gallon difference. The only thing is this needs premium, and the truck will run on regular. But all in all, I think it's a winner. It's a pretty nice running and driving car. The instrument panel just looks really nice. There was some bug poop that was in on the back side of the lens there that bothered me, so all that's cleaned up, and it just looks like brand spanking new. The lens all polished up and the speedometer wiped off, and really looks good. Made a big difference. So we got 25,610 miles on the car, so I've almost put 300 miles on it since I've had it, and I've been driving it pretty regularly. I drove it up to Romeo yesterday. I drove it to friends for dinner last night. I just had it out now. So pretty much, well, if I need to do some running around, it's not nasty out, I'll probably end up taking this car. It's just a fun car to drive. So I'll try and meet up with Ray sometime in the next week or so and take him for a ride, and if he's not camera shy, I'll get some video of that too. In the meantime, we're just waiting for the upholstery from the place that's reproducing it, and get this the upholstery done, and we'll have a pretty much all finished car. Alright, I just checked the oil, and it's still right on the full mark. So we've got 300 miles on this oil. It's still actually pretty clean looking, as you can see what I wiped off the stick the first time on the Towler, but I don't know if that shows up or not, but it's right on the full mark. So we're all good with the oil. I'll run it a few hundred more miles and maybe give it another oil change, and then we'll call it good for the season. Or for a couple thousand miles, I'll probably change oil in it like once a season or every 2,000 miles, whichever occurs first. And I generally once a month go around, hit the oilers on the generator and the oiler on the distributor, and grease all the fittings, usually about once a month in both the vehicles. And So yeah, no valve cover leaks. Everything's nice and dry. So the oil drain plug is leaking. The drain plug washer needs to be replaced on the drain plug. So the next oil change, I'll change that. It kind of, you can see where it runs down from the plug down the length of the oil pan, then it just drips on the cardboard. But it's not very much. It's just a drip here and there. I mean, pretty much all these old cars leak a little bit of oil. There's no getting around it, but it's nothing major. And like I say, I think it's just the oil drain plug washer. So the next oil change, I will change that washer on the drain plug. So we're all good. Everything's working on the car, functioning as it should. Trying to, just get all the bugs worked out of it from being parked for almost 40 years, and make it a good, reliable cruiser is my goal, and I think we're getting there. I think we're fixing all of the little odds and ends quirks like the speedometer and the heater core and whatnot. So, if something else needs some attention, we'll give it to it. So you can get all the bugs worked out and be a nice, fun, well, it is a fun, nice car, but it'll even be more fun. Just really enjoy this car cruising in it a lot. The Chevy's still my favorite. I'm not going to deny that. I like those wild styling of those cars. I think they were drunk when they designed those cars. And so, yeah, anyway, that's about it for this car for now. And I'll get a video if I meet up with Ray sometime this week or this coming weekend. I'll get a video up of that too. So thank you for watching my videos. I hope you enjoy them.